Hello everybody, this is Fernando again for Godzilla Movie News. Another video when it comes to my Cryptids and Monsters channel. This time focusing on a very unique cryptid, one that I find to be one of the most original ones I've ever come across as far as reading and looking up its history. It's the cryptid known as the atmospheric beast. Beast is a loose term. It's essentially a living creature that lives in the sky. And think of something exactly like living in the ocean, but instead of using water to live by, it utilizes air. And the notion of such a thing living, let's say, in the atmosphere, just beyond the area where perhaps most planes fly, and still below space itself, that's where these beasts are living. Very, very interesting and original concept because, again, if they're truly out there, and I'm using the quotations if, then this is something that it would be very hard to distinguish, because unless somebody were able to actually stay and categorize and inspect and view all of the atmosphere itself, again the level above where most planes fly but below space itself, still within the Earth's atmosphere, then it'll be pretty difficult to do so. So again, this is why the notion of having entire living organisms out there just above the sky, very, very fascinating stuff. Reports of these atmospheric beasts have come and gone all the way since the 1800s. And essentially, they're thought to be very fragile, very lightweight creatures. Of course, any living organism has to be if they're going to be living in the sky, because anything that's too heavy will, of course, fall to the ground. So having something that lives out there, its best representation would be like this picture here, which has been associated with another cryptid known as an air rod. Air rod, though, is proven to be not a hoax, but a misinterpretation of essentially frames from a photo, creating something or distorting something that's not really there. But yeah, this showcases essentially the best type of thing that would make up an atmospheric beast. Atmospheric beasts have also been said to be essentially cloud-like, and that in some cases the clouds we even see in the sky are the living organisms themselves, masquerading as clouds. That's why if you sometimes think that a cloud has a life of its own, forming objects that look very, very familiar, it could be one of these quote-unquote atmospheric beasts, essentially mimicking something that they've seen or something that they do. According to the research that I saw, it says they may engage in behavior that is thought to be impossible for a real cloud, such as squirting a stream of water through lips, or being far too mobile and inanimate for witnesses to believe it to just be a cloud itself. So very, very interesting to think that some clouds out there are in fact atmospheric beasts disguised as clouds, or that they're the clouds themselves. So as far as reports from people that have come across these atmospheric beasts, I did come across a few on there. There was a gentleman who was essentially bicycling in the United Kingdom, and he came across what looked like a wisp of fog. Think of like a snake-like fog, very, very thin and small, but something that followed the gentleman. This was a policeman. He was saying that while he was bicycling, it came across him and it seemed to inspect him. In fact, it rubbed against him, and then once it did so, it floated away. And even though one might think like, okay, something fog-like, not necessarily too harmful, this, according to policeman, was one of the most terrifying things that he had encountered, because to see something like this, one would expect it to just, you can blow on it and have it float away, but no, this thing stuck around, inspected him, and then went off. So interesting stuff. The atmospheric beast concept, in the Shetland Islands, somewhere in the world, people describe the atmospheric beasts such as it, and that they're mostly hidden from view, which again kind of makes sense, because with so many things pointing up towards the sky, so many cameras, so many satellites pointing down, this will be something that would most likely reflect anything as far as visible viewpoint. So yeah, it's mainly something that is you can see it, but you don't see it at the same time. And those who have been touched by the atmospheric beasts, such as again the policeman, those who come across as said it felt like a very soft tongue, whatever that means. So others explain that atmospheric beast may just be manifestation or some kind of, I guess, inspection or probing device by UFOs, which, if you're going in that angle, could make sense, because again, you would have something that would be inconspicuous, but at the same time do all of the reporting for whoever's in the UFO. But again, who knows? Is it something that's out there that truly exists right in the clouds? Is it the clouds themselves? Is it above the atmosphere? I don't know. Very, very, very fascinating stuff. If these pictures that I've presented here, these are the closest representations. Atmospheric base, of course, no official photo has been produced, but the day that happens, it'll be interesting. When it comes to these beasts as well, they've been shown in some various movies. If you look at, for example, the Blob, one must think, why the Blob? Well, those that study atmospheric beasts believe that when the atmospheric beasts die, that's the only time they turn into a true solid mass of some sort. They fall to the earth as a gelatinous, green, globish type of thing, and it dissolves within a short time period, a few hours at most, and that way there's no record of its existence. So the Blob itself is thought to be an atmospheric beast who is dying, but is essentially the remnants or the last of one of these beasts itself. So the Star Trek: The Next Generation, also in Star Wars itself, they would showcase beasts floating in the air or living in the air, and so the notion of this exists out there in sci-fi, but whether it exists here on Earth, that's another thing as well. Alright, everybody, thanks again as always for watching my videos and this channel. Much appreciated. Take care.